Hola, bienvenidos al podcast de Unidad 6 para Preposiciones. Welcome, I'm Senora Stanias, and in this podcast, we'll be looking at the prepositions a, hacia, and con in Spanish. Make sure you have your grammar packet with you and take notes as needed, as well as with examples. We want to be able to use the following prepositions, a, hacia, and con. Be able to use them in both our written and spoken Spanish, as well as understand them when we read or hear them used in Spanish. So starting with a. As you can see, a can mean a variety of different translations into English. How do we know which one? Well, it depends upon the context. We have to be very aware of what the sentence means. Terminó a las 12. So it ended at midnight. Pedro estaba a mi derecha. Pedro was at my right or to my right. The preposition can also introduce indirect objects. Les dije a mis amigos que tenemos un proyecto. I told my friends that we have a project. It can be used in commands. A trabajar. Let's work. And finally, we talk about that personal a. That is when we have the direct object noun as a person, or that we have alguien, nadie, or and alguno. We will use that personal a in front of those as well. Some examples. ¿Viste a tus amigos en el partido anoche? No, no he visto a nadie. Please don't forget that there are sometimes verbs that do require that a before an infinitive. So some examples. Aprendí a manejar. Ayudaremos a limpiar el planeta. Vamos a proteger el medio ambiente. Again, these are some examples. Now moving on to hacia. Hacia has the meaning of toward or to when we are looking at movement that can be either literal or figurative movement. So, el turista se dirige hacia Costa Rica para su viaje. The tourist is headed to Costa Rica for his trip. La actitud de Manuel hacia mí fue negativa. Manuel's attitude toward me was negative. Hacia can also mean approximately, around, about, or toward. Again, but this time when we refer to times. So, nos reuniremos hacia las 6 para finalizar el proyecto. So, we'll meet around 6 to finalize the project. La televisión se hizo popular hacia la segunda mitad del siglo XX. Where television became popular toward the second half of the 20th century. Also, now we will look at con. Con basically means with. So, quiero hablar con los estudiantes. I want to talk with the students. Es una organización ecológica con muchos miembros. It's an environmental organization with lots of members. Many English adverbs can be expressed in Spanish with this formula using con and a noun. So, hablaba con cariño. He spoke affectionately. And please know that the preposition con is also used rhetorically to emphasize the value or the quality of something or someone, contrary to a given fact or situation. In this case, we use con to convey some sort of surprise at this apparent conflict between the two known facts. Los turistas tiraron los papeles al suelo. Con lo limpio que estaba todo. But the place was so clean. Please also know with con that we have some special contractions. So if we have con and mi, then we have conmigo. And if we have con and ti, they also contract to be contigo. Quiero ir contigo al campo. I want to go with you to the countryside. And also there is this where it's con, and if it's any of these, usted, ustedes, él, ella, ellos, ellas, it's consigo. Consigo can only be used when the subject is the same person that is being referred to after that con. So it consigo is kind of like our equivalent of himself, herself, yourself, or with themselves, with yourselves. And oftentimes, because of the way the sentences are formed, we'll use mismo as in our sentence also. Los estudiantes están satisfechos consigo mismos. So the students are satisfied with themselves. The Census podcast, if you have any questions, make sure that you are including them in the Google Forms that you will find at the bottom of this podcast. Gracias y hasta mañana.